So since a lot of video projects right now are happening on iPhones, it's pretty frequent that most people aren't necessarily also recording with a tripod or with a rig or something like that. And the trouble with the iPhone sometimes is that it's so light that it picks up a lot more camera shake than if you're carrying something heavier, because when you're carrying something heavier, you tend to be engaging more of your body and your core muscles and such to keep it steady, whereas your camera, your phone, you're just holding at the end of your arm, which picks up all of that sort of hinging movement from your elbow and your shoulder and your wrist, I guess. So one thing I wanted to go through is how to apply a stabilization, because this is extremely common practice. So I have some footage here from our studio on one of the days that we've had a bunch of our undergrads in working on testing different projects. And in Final Cut, the stabilization effect is actually built right into your video clip, so you don't need to go find the effect anywhere. You can just turn on the stabilizer, and it works pretty darn good right out of the box. Kind of just turn it on and let it be. So if we watch this back, it's got a little bit of movement back and forth, or I guess this one here has a little bit more obvious movement, just from the camera person sort of shifting back and forth. So if you just check that on, and we can play this back once the analyzing for dominant motion application is done, you'll also see that as this is doing it, it grays out everything, and then once it finishes, it'll reveal it, much like this first clip here. I turned it on at the very beginning, and it should be... Oh, I did not turn it on. Anyways, it's already analyzed it, so it should be in good shape. So while that's analyzing, I will just go through. There's a couple different options that you have here if you need to fine tune them. There's called the inertia cam and the smooth cam. The smooth cam is good if you're walking around and that kind of thing. If you're applying panning motions left and right, up and down, or tilt functions up and down, or even sometimes dolly ins, then the inertia cam can be a little bit more helpful because it smooths out those cornered movements. So if you pan across and then you stop and you turn again, then that inertia cam is going to help smooth those aspects out. You can increase the smoothing back and forth by just grabbing the dragger, and as you see, it zooms it in a little bit. The reason for that is that when you're smoothing it out, what it's doing is it's taking cues from what's on screen from high contrast points and locking them in place, and when you smooth them, it zooms it in so that it has the ability to actually shift the frame back and forth a little bit. And then the other thing is, in both inertia cam and automatic, there is this tripod mode function, which it just does an extraordinarily good job of removing all movement from it entirely, and it just stays in place. So if you look to the corners of the shot here, they're really not moving much at all, and if at all, it's extremely minor. So we'll go back over here, and it looks like our analyzing dominant function is done. So you'll see some of the movement is still there, but it's pretty well smoothed out. I'll turn it off again just so you remember what it looks like as it goes back and forth. And so what it's doing is it's just zooming it in a little bit, holding it in place, and then reapplying any twisting motion to it. This other option, the smooth cam, does a better job with sort of walking around. If you're going out and about and you're shooting, it tends to smooth those pieces out. The thing that it will not do is smooth out extremely jarring motion. So if you're turning your phone to turn it on or off, it's not going to help smooth that motion out. It's going to actually cause warping in the shot. So if I extend this out a little bit and I look at the zoom, I think that, yeah, see that sort of weird, see how our face begins to wobble back and forth as it zooms. See right there, our whole face is sort of being pulled in one direction, which is just not a good look for this. So if you're determining that you're going to go out and you're going to shoot handheld, and you're hoping to use this at the end in order to smooth everything out. Just be aware that major motion tends to warp a little bit and is a little bit less effective. The smoothing function is very much for smoothing out minor handheld mistakes, as opposed to sort of creating a full dollying effect just from your handheld video.